Welcome back to my channel. And in today's deep dive, we're unpacking the intense backstage moment where Bronson Reed issued a chilling warning to Carmelo Hayes on WWE SmackDown, turning what should have been an ordinary night into one filled with tension, uncertainty, and the sense that something far bigger is brewing beneath the surface. So let's break it down and explore every layer of this heated confrontation in expanded detail of everything that went down and everything it could mean. Moving forward as Reed's powerful presence collided with Hayes' rising momentum in a way that left the entire locker room buzzing with speculation. It all started the moment cameras caught Reed backstage pacing like an uncaged animal, clearly frustrated and loaded with silent anger that was just waiting for somewhere to land. And unfortunately for Carmelo Hayes, he was the person who walked right into Reed's path at exactly the wrong moment, setting off a chain reaction of verbal intimidation, rising hostility, and a growing sense that these two men are on a collision course that neither one will be able to avoid in the weeks to come. Carmelo Hayes is known for his confidence, his swagger, and his ability to hold his ground even when confronted by larger, stronger opponents. But the moment Reed stepped into the frame, it became obvious that this wasn't just another exchange of words. It was a warning delivered by a man who has been building momentum for months and is tired of being overlooked, underused, and treated like a stepping stone rather than a threat, and Reed made it abundantly clear that those days are officially over. Reed leaned in close, towering over Hayes, reminding him in a low and heavy voice that actions have consequences, especially in a place like WWE where respect is earned not through words or flashy performances, but through dominance, power, and the willingness to crush anyone who stands in your way. And with Reed delivering a message that sounded more like a promise than a threat, Hayes suddenly found himself in a situation that demanded more than charisma. It demanded strategy, quick thinking, and a realization that Reed is not someone who makes idle threats. Hayes pushed back verbally as he always does, refusing to fold or let intimidation shake him, but even as he spoke with confidence, you could see the underlying tension in his expression, the slight stiffness in his posture, because Reed wasn't just sending a warning. He was testing Hayes, gauging his reactions, trying to see whether Hayes was truly ready for the storm he was about to invite. And the entire exchange felt like the first spark of a feud that could grow into one of SmackDown's most compelling storylines of the season. As word of the confrontation spread backstage, other superstars were seen glancing toward the scene with curiosity, some whispering among themselves about how Hayes' rapid rise in the company might have rubbed the wrong people the wrong way, while others recognized that Reed's frustration has been building steadily and that this moment was inevitable because a powerhouse like Reed doesn't stay silent forever when younger stars keep jumping ahead in opportunities, title shots, and screen time. So Hayes walking into Reed's orbit at that particular moment was like throwing gasoline on a flame that had already been burning quietly for weeks. The confrontation wasn't physical, but the lack of physicality made it even more unsettling. Reed didn't need to lay a hand on Hayes to make his point, and sometimes the most dangerous threats are the ones spoken calmly, with unwavering conviction, and that was exactly the energy Reed brought as he warned Hayes that the next time he stepped out of line or tried to insert himself into Reed's business, there would be consequences that Hayes would not be able to talk his way out of, fight his way out of, or charm his way out of, because Reed sees himself as the future unstoppable force of SmackDown, and to him Hayes is simply the next obstacle standing in his path. Hayes, for his part, didn't back down, reminding Reed that he didn't come to SmackDown to be intimidated or overshadowed, but to make a name for himself, to climb the ladder, and to take on anyone who tries to block him from reaching the top. And that kind of response only added more fuel to the fire because Reed is a man who responds strongly to challenges, especially from younger stars who carry themselves like they're invincible and destined for greatness. And this verbal standoff gave Reed exactly what he wanted: a reason to unleash his frustration in a direction that feels justified, personal, and explosive. The cameras captured every bit of the tension, from the shifting expressions to the tightened fists to the uncomfortable silence that followed each pointed sentence, and even the production team seemed to understand that this moment was more than filler or a simple backstage interaction. It was the beginning of a new storyline arc, one driven by two men with completely different approaches to success. Reed with his brute force and explosive power, and Hayes with his technical skill, charisma, and undeniable ambition, and the clash of those opposing styles is exactly the kind of dynamic that WWE loves to build into major feuds. What makes this moment even more compelling is the timing, because SmackDown is currently in a phase where new rivalries are emerging, new alliances are forming, and the balance of power is constantly shifting, so a feud between Reed and Hayes isn't just inevitable. It's necessary to keep the brand's energy alive, especially with fans craving fresh matchups and unpredictable twists, and this confrontation delivered exactly that, setting the stage for a series of encounters that could escalate into matches, ambushes, promos, and perhaps even a high-stakes showdown at an upcoming pay-per-view event. Reed's warning wasn't just about Hayes personally. It was about respect, territory, and the desire to be recognized as a dominant force, while Hayes' response was equally layered because he wasn't willing to let Reed define the terms of their dynamic, and his refusal to show fear or uncertainty sent its own message that Hayes is not just another up-and-coming superstar. He is someone determined to solidify his place in the spotlight and will stand toe-to-toe with anyone who tries to dim his momentum. As the confrontation ended, Reed walked away first, but not in defeat. He walked away with the confidence of a man who knows he has planted a seed of doubt in his rival's mind, the confidence of someone who knows that he is physically unbeatable when he wants to be, and that Hayes, for all his talent, may not be ready for the sheer force Reed plans to unleash the next time their paths cross in a more explosive setting. And Hayes watched him leave with a mixture of frustration and determination, already planning his next move and recognizing that staying one step ahead will be crucial if he hopes to survive the storm Reed is preparing to bring. This storyline feels like it has the potential to evolve in many directions. Perhaps Reed ambushes Hayes during a match. Perhaps Hayes cuts a promo calling out Reed directly. Perhaps they end up in a tag situation that forces them to coexist before tearing each other apart. Or perhaps WWE is building toward a massive showdown where both men get to showcase their strengths in a match that could elevate whichever one emerges victorious, and whichever direction it takes. The groundwork laid by this intense backstage moment is strong enough to support multiple weeks of build-up.